By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we are back for Rumble Royale. We're back in Düsseldorf, and this is still the Swiss rounds. We've got two very cool decks going face to face. We've got Ben, who's playing a 5-colored Black Vise deck. So it's built around Black Vise, lots of power in here. Kind of an interesting deck, a deck I don't see that often. And then we have William, and William is playing a blue and white Flyers deck, so that's more a common deck. Two very strong decks going face to face. But before I jump into the deck decks, I've got lovely deck photos of both of these decks. I would first like to tell you something about the 3-for-1 Trading Black Friday sale. Black Friday is early this year at 3-for-1 Trading. Their annual Black Friday sale is live and runs until Wednesday, November the 12th. Their whole inventory is 5% off, and they offer free worldwide shipping on all orders over $300. Visit shop.3for1trading.com to shop for all the high-end singles, full sets, sealed product, and gaming supplies. Excluded from the promotion are Avatar: The Last Airbender products, the 3-for-1 Advent Calendar, and the 3-for-1 Chaos Draft, as well as event tickets. But who cares? We're buying old school Magic cards with a discount of 5%. How sweet is that? Use the code BF25 and grab your discount today. And we are back and ready to dive into the deck text, and I'm going to start with the player on the left, that is William. Let's take a look at this blue-white Flyers deck. And here we see the deck of William. So, I mean, this is really a traditional blue-white Flyers deck, right? Like we see so often, and there's a reason why they're popular, because they're very good decks. You've got, your blue power, you've got your counter magic, then you've got the top removal from white, right? Disenchant, Swords to Plowshares. Of course, you've got balance. And when you're only playing with flying creatures, like in this case, Surrender, Prophet, and Serra Angels, your modes are also quite good. We see 2 modes in here. Just, a beautiful, efficient deck. We also see that Black Splash that we see so often for Mind Twist and Demonic Tutor. And actually, the most interesting thing about this deck is what's happening in the sideboard. Maybe first, to just mention that a few of these cards, you only see sleeves with the name on it. The reason for that is that I got the deck photo after the tournament was played. So I guess maybe he traded away these cards, or maybe he borrowed them out, or he borrowed them in. Anyway, they were there, when he was playing the game. So just to clarify that this is a tournament without any proxies. But what I wanted to say is the sideboard here is quite interesting, because there are 3 Hypnotic Specters in the sideboard. And I guess if you're splashing black already, it makes sense to think about, okay, are there any black cards that are good enough for me to maybe play main, or maybe play in the sideboard with my strategy? And Hypnotic Spectre, I guess that it can be devastating, right, against certain decks. The problem, of course, is the casting cost. 2 black there in the casting cost could be tricky, although he is playing with City of Brass, he is playing with some dual lands that can produce black mana, he is playing with Felwar Stones that, of course, get very good if your opponent is playing with City of Brasses. And if you maybe play against a mono black player, your Felwar Stones will give you the color of mana that you need. And he's got a Mox Jet in there as well. So I think mana-wise, it kind of figures out. But what I'm curious about, and maybe you can answer that in the comments, William, if you're watching this video, is to let me know, when did you actually board in the Hypnotic Specters, against what kind of opponent, and how did they perform? I'm just curious to know those little nuances, because like I said, we've seen, of course, the blue-white Flyers deck. It's a famous deck. It's a good deck. But yeah, I'm just interested to see the little tweaks and differences that players make, like William in this case, who's decided to go for Hypnotic Spectre in the sideboard. So I would love to hear from you, William, if you could tell us how that performed for you. Okay, now that we've talked about the deck of William, let's take a look at the deck of his opponent. And here we see the deck of Ben. And I think, Ben, this is a really interesting deck. Beautiful deck photo too, by the way. And the reason I'm calling it interesting is because you're playing a 5-color deck, which is not that uncommon actually in old school. Usually you call it 5-color good stuff, but this type of deck is, because usually these decks are different. You're playing 5 colors with a win con that are the black Vises in your deck. That's the only win con. 4 Vises. I mean, he's not even playing Mishra's Factories in here. He just really wants to win via the Black Vise. So Black Vise is an artifact for 1 that says target opponent takes a life during the upkeep, a damage, I should say, during the upkeep for each card he or she has in hand above 4. So if you've got 7 cards in hand, you take 3 damage when there's a Vise out. And of course, if you've got multiple Vises, that damage stacks up. So 2 Vises, double the damage, 3 Vises, triple the damage, and so forth. Now, he also has copy artifact, so he could start copying the Vises as well. And then, of course, he's playing with the draw 7s, Wheel of Fortune, and Time Twister, which are really good when you have your Vises out, because then your opponent is going to take damage because they have a full grip of cards right during their upkeep. Probably, at least. You never know with instant shenanigans, whatever can happen, but in general, your opponent will probably have a full hand if you play one of those draw 7s. And then the interesting thing is with this deck, you can also force your opponent to draw cards via Ancestral Recall and Brain Geyser, which is something that usually doesn't happen. But when your only win con is Black Vise, it could actually be relevant in this matchup. He's also playing with 3 Fork, which I think is really cool. You don't see Fork that often, and I just love that idea. Of course, he can also start forking stuff that his opponent is going to do. What I also really like here in this deck is Hurkyl's Recall. The reason why I like it so much in this deck is because you can use it both ways. You can use it to protect your own artifacts, so you send back all artifacts that you control to your hand. But you can also do it on your opponent. And then, of course, there's that synergy with Black Vise, because then you send all the artifacts back if you time it right. Your opponent will have a full grip of cards, all those artifacts, all those mana rocks back to the hand. Then there's the upkeep, and he's going to take a heap of damage via your Black Vises. So I really like cards that are flexible that way, right? You can use it offensively or defensively. I always like those cards. Talking about cards like that, Mesa Viv, I guess, is a card. In this deck, though, it's purely defensively. Mesa Viv, a land from the dark that reads, tap, take target creature out of combat. It neither deals nor receives any damage. And of course, this card really works well with other creature control cards, because what happens when you've got one maze out, your opponent is incentivized to start playing more creatures, and that's actually what Ben probably wants, because he's got Drop of Honey, he's got Balance, which could be a very good one-sided Wrath of God. He also has the Abyss, so he's like, you know what, you just play a little bit more creatures, I keep luring you into this trap, and then I start playing my creature removal enchantments or spells. Talking about Drop of Honey, he's playing 2 Drop of Honeys main and 2 Drop of Honeys in the side. So against a creature-heavy decks or really quick decks, he could go full-on the Drop of Honey plan as well. So just a very interesting deck. I'm looking forward, Ben, to see how it is going to perform. We could be in for a very long and grindy match, or maybe you don't have enough time to set up and you'll be blown away by the white-blue Flyers deck. Both is very possible. Also, both players playing with 4 counterspells. So this also could be a counterspell-heavy match where counterspells might be vital to the outcome of the game. Anyway, enough chitter-chatter. Let's go to the match here at Rumble Royale in Düsseldorf, Germany. Game number 1 here is about to start. On the left, we have Will, who's playing a blue-white Flyers deck. I believe he's on the play. On the right, we have Ben, and Ben is playing a 5-color deck built around Black Vise. Here we see a basic plane being played by Will. Let's see what Ben can do in his first turn. There we see a Taiga and a Mox Sapphire, followed up by a Mox Pearl. Okay, so has a lot of mana. Now remember, Ben is playing creatureless, so we're not going to see a Curd Ape or anything. Exactly, just passing the turn. Here also no Black Vise. There's also a dual land here found by Will. I believe it's a Tundra. And there we see a Felwar Stone. So Felwar Stone, an artifact from the dark that can make any kind of mana that the lands of your opponent can produce. So in this case, it can make green or red. And we see a counterspell there in hand by Ben. And maybe that's also nice to note. Both players playing a full playset of counterspell. So we could be in for a long and grindy counter matchup here. Here we see City of Brass. This is quite interesting because it means that Will can now make any color of mana thanks to that City of Brass. Here we see a Mox Jet. So 4 lands available, passing the turn. So Will can now also counter if he has a counterspell, of course, because of that Felwar Stone and City of Brass synergy. And it looks like Ben is thinking about doing something on end step or not. Nope, deciding to take on his turn, draw a card for turn. Yeah, it looks like he's a little bit in the tank here. Am I going to play this card out or not? Decides the answer is yes. There's a Mesa Viv hitting the board. And I understand that you're doubting if you want to play it out, because usually the most ideal... Oh, there we see the Vise. The most ideal thing to do is play out your maze when your opponent, for example, has a Surrender Profit on board. And now, of course, he already has that information. We see a quick disenchant, by the way. Or are we going to see a counterspell here trying to defend the Vise? If he does, it'll probably be countered away by Will. Of course, it depends. Yeah, here we do see the okay from Ben. He's saying okay. And Vise is in the graveyard. There we see another City of Brass. This time it's on the side of Will. And Will just passing the turn. Yeah, both players really want to keep their counter magic up. And this is kind of the grindy gameplay that I expected when I looked at the deck photos. Both decks have a lot of answers in them. And there we see a pass by Ben, not even playing out a land. There we see a Mox there, Mox Emerald, I believe, for Will. He's going to tap 4. Yeah, now he can play the Gem de Tome with Counter Magic open. So Gem de Tome artifact for 4. 4 and tap, draw a card. This is a signed copy. If you look at the art of the book, by the way, it lives. Pretty cool. Pretty cool art by Mark Tedeen. Ooh, we're going to see Hercules Recall. Or not. Looks like he's changing his mind. Also has Counterspell in hand. Could go Counterspell, Will countering away the Counterspell. Then you're basically trading Counterspell for Counterspell. And then next turn you could play Hercules Recall. Just send a lot of artifacts back to the hand of Will. Could be a consideration. Could also be useful, of course, if you also have a Vise in hand. Of course, we don't know the cards in hand by Ben. We do know he's got a Counterspell and a Hercules Recall. So decides to play the Hercules Recall. Going to target Will, and Will is going to counter it here with the Counterspell. Now, the nice thing here for Ben is that Will is now tapped out. So, I mean, Ben could have a big turn next turn. But it would have also been interesting if you would have gone for Counterspell, you know, and then in your turn you can play Hercules Recall. But, of course, we don't know what else is in hand of Ben. Maybe this is exactly what Ben wanted Will to tap out, and then he can do as he pleases in this turn. Going to draw a card here for turn. It's going to tap a blue. What are we going to see for 1 blue? Are we going to see Ancestral Recall, for example? I believe that's the only card in his deck that's cost just 1 blue. Of course, he also has Vises for 1. Yep, there's the Ancestral Recall. So going to play the Ancestral. Going to pay 2. Oh, he's going to fork the Ancestral. Oh, that is a cool play. He's going to draw 6 cards. I mean, this is how you want to use your fork, you know. So he's going to draw 6 cards. This is pretty spectacular. I really like it. But now he's got a lot of cards in hand. Of course, didn't have a land drop yet, so could still drop a land. We also see a Black Lotus there in hand, so he has some ways to empty his hand. There we see a Mox Jet. There we see the land for turn. Yeah, there's the land for turn. Basic Island. What else can he do? Going to tap the Pearl. Are we going to see a Vise, for example? There's a Black Vise. Not going to do much, of course. Will only having 2 cards in hand. What else can he do here? I mean, Ben still has the Black Lotus he could play out. A little bit in the tank. You're not sure if he wants to. I mean, you don't want to discard, right? Then again, I don't know how many cards he still has in hand. There we see the Black Vise. Wants to tap 2. 1 black, 1 blue. Are we going to see a Demonic, for example? No, we're going to see Chaos Orb here. So Chaos Orb hitting the board. This is interesting for Will, right? If Will has, for example, artifact removal, could consider using it. That way kind of forcing Ben to choose, do I want to sack my Lotus to activate the Chaos Orb? Or do I just want him to destroy the Chaos Orb? Anyway, let's see what Will can do. Playing out a Mox Ruby. Going to tap the 3 Mox in here. And the basic plane is going to use the Gem de Tome. Going to draw a card. 3 cards in hand now for the German player. Both German players, by the way. And Will passing the turn here. Ben untap, upkeep, draw. Found a Felwer Stone there from the top. I mean, you know, it's not great, but it's not bad either, especially since Will has that City of Brass on his side, you know. Can help you strengthen your mana base. So Ben tapping both the Mox in here, the Mox Sapphire and the Mox Pearl, it seems. Okay, he's going to tap 3. Are we going to see a draw 7? Now that would be spectacular. Or not. No, we're going to see a recall. Okay, then I guess he's going to recall the Ancestral Recall. Oh, he's going to go for the Hercules Recall. A lot of recalling happening here, by the way, in the deck. And look at that. Ben is going to pick up the cards. Wow, I didn't see this coming. Ben's like, you know what? I've seen this show. This is taking too long. I'm gonna board against it. I'm a little bit surprised here. Now, you do have to take into account, though, that we are playing in a tournament, meaning you only have 50 minutes. So if you have the feeling, hey, I'm really being boxed in here, he's doing his thing, there's no way for me to get out of this, you know, you could consider, of course, to pick up the cards like Will did here and say, you know what, I'm going to use my time and energy for game 2 and 3. And that's exactly what Will did here. And now, of course, he knows the plan of Ben, which is a huge advantage against the type of deck that Ben is playing. So I guess we're going to continue here to game number 2. Game number 2, here we go. So it's Will on the play, starting with a Mox Ruby and a duel. And then there is Ben. Ben took a mulligan, by the way, so started here with 6. He's on the draw, though, so now he's got 7 back in hand. There we see a Volcanic Island by Ben. Passing the turn, I guess in the upkeep, he's going to play the Ancestral Recall on himself. Going to draw 3 cards. Let's see what Will can do. There's the City of Brass. There's a Mox Sapphire. You're going to tap 4. And, oh, there we see a Mind Twist. Mind Twist for 3. So that kind of nullifies the Ancestral Recall here. So Mind Twisting for 3. Also good timing, of course, by Will to do it as early as possible, because now Ben doesn't have any counter magic open. So he loses 2 lands in a Recall. And he's going to take on his turn. Let's see what he can find. Okay, wow, Library of Alexandria. Does he have 7 cards in hand? I don't think so. So that Mind Twist was very important here for Will. There we see a Felwar Stone and a pass. Yeah, Will pretty light on cards himself, by the way. 3 cards there in hand. I believe one of those cards is a Brain Geyser. So, I mean, I would try to deploy Brain Geyser now because, you know, Ben doesn't have counter magic up. Then again, you could run into a Red Elemental Blast, of course. Going to go for the Brain Geyser here. Are we going to see Red Elemental Blast? Yeah, there it is. I understand this choice by Will, you know, because if you wait and he untaps with multiple counter spells, it's going to be even harder. We also see a Brain Geyser for Ben, by the way. But Ben can only play it for 2 now. Is he going to do that? He is going to do that. That also makes sense because Will is tapped out. But only 2 cards. And Ben, of course, already ahead here. 1 game. There we see the Black Lotus. So Will kind of has that pressure that he has to perform. And it's not looking great for him, to be honest. Basic Island there in hand. And 2 other cards. Only 3 cards for him. 3 cards also for Ben. One of the things Ben could now consider doing is just, you know, taking it easy. Okay, you're going to tap 5. There we see Sarah Angel. What I wanted to say is taking it easy and try to get up to 7 to use the Loa. And I wonder now if Ben wants to counter this away. He is going to counter it away. And this is actually pretty good for Will, you know, because Ben is losing 2 cards. And also a card from hand, which means it's going to take him longer to get that Loa online. Let's see what Will can do. It's going to tap 2. Both Mox in here tap. Mox Ruby, Mox Sapphire for a Felwar Stone. Gonna use the Felwar Stone here. Oh, there's a Recall. So I guess he's going to recall the Brain Geyser? Yeah, you would go for Brain Geyser here. It's still going to be tough, though, for Will to get that Brain Geyser resolved, but it's really important for him if he wants to win this game. And, of course, Ben knows this as well, so Ben's probably just going to keep counter magic up. I mean, this is tough. And now the question for Will is Ben bluffing, or does he really have counter magic? Should you take the risk here, yes or no? He is going to go for it, so Brain Geyser on board, and look at it, it's going to resolve. So Will made the right decision here, and I think in general it was the right decision to go for it, because what if, you know, Ben has a counterspell? Okay, that's awful, but then at least he's a card further away from the Loa as well, and he's not going to tap out anyway. You know that he's not going to do that, so you might as well try. And Will got rewarded for his courage, and I'm happy because it means we're probably going to get a game 2 here. It's going to tap the Ruby. Tap the Sapphire and an Island. The Felwar Stone. Okay, we're going to see another Sarah here. Sarah Angel on the board. It's also going to resolve. Okay. Now remember, Ben's deck is full of creature answers. course, we don't know how he sideboarded. Look at this Ben just passing. No Mace of If. No Drop of Honey. No Abyss. Nothing. There's the attack. Wow, actually dealing damage here with the Sarah. I didn't see that coming. There's the pass. How many cards does Ben have in hand now? It looks like a lot. Exactly 7. So Loa active. That explains why Ben wasn't playing anything out against the Sarah. Here we go. Now there's the Maze. So he was just taking 4, you know, because he wanted to get the Loa active. That makes sense. There's the attack using the Maze. And there we see another land by Will and just a pass here. So no more pressure on the board. 4 cards in hand for Will, and I believe 7 in hand for Ben. And yeah, this is looking pretty awful for Will. And Ben's going to activate it before his draw step. So in his upkeep, then he's going to draw a card for turn. So 9 cards in hand now for Ben. Yeah, this is rough for Will. And the thing is with Ben's deck, it's hard to win. I mean, he's probably going to win now because he's in such a good position, but it's going to take long because remember, it's only win con, you know, are the black Vices. You know, and Will has a lot of answers in his deck as well. There we see the first black Vice here being deployed. There's a pass, I guess. Yep. Card 5 drawn. There's the attack, sending it back again, of course, with the Mace. There's the pass, and we already see the Disenchant in Will's hand, so could decide to fire it off. Also has a balance there in hand. I think a well-timed balance could help Will here. But I'm sure he first wants to empty his hand a little bit. Yeah, and Ben a little bit in the tank here now. Has a lot of options, of course, with that Loa as well active. You know, that means you've got 9 cards in hand all the time. So you also have 9 options to think about. He's going to tap 2. What are we going to see for 2? Okay, there's a Time Walk. I mean, that's actually not going to do that much. There we're going to see a counterspell, though. And are we going to see a counterspell on the counterspell? I mean, a Time Walk, it's not really a big deal here, in my opinion. And here we see a counterspell. Are we going to see a counterspell on the counterspell? Oh, another counterspell. What a counterspell battle. So a counterspell on the counterspell on the counterspell. There's the attack, sending it back. And there's the pass. So yeah, nothing much actually happened there. I mean, we had a little counter war, but it doesn't seem to lead to anything. Also in hand there for Ben is another Maze of If. So even more control for the German player. I mean, these decks are so tough to play against. Especially when you rely on combat damage. Like if you've got an aggressive like mono red deck or something with lots of direct damage, you can maybe play underneath it, you know, and you don't care as much for the mazes and stuff like that. But, you know, Will's deck, it's really hard for him to win here. There we see a Drop of Honey. Probably going to see that Disenchant, right? Because he wants to keep his Sarah Angel around. So I'm assuming he's going to do this on end step here. There's Disenchant. Yep. Drop of Honey gone. But I mean, it's not a problem. You know, Ben has the Maze, has another Maze in hand. There's the attack again. I do think it's good for Will that he keeps attacking because then, you know, if you all of a sudden attack when you never do, then your opponent knows that you probably have a Time Walk. And because, you know, Will just constantly keeps attacking, Ben doesn't know. An attack doesn't signal anything because he attacks every turn. Untap, upkeep, and draw. Another Vise in hand there for Ben. Also has another counterspell in hand. Going to draw another card. Going to go up to 9. Sorry, he was on 7. So he's going to go up to 8, of course, because you can only activate Loa if you've got 7 in hand. Found a dual land there, so could just play a land and pass. Which is probably what he's going to do. Exactly, going to pass turn here. You want to keep 7 in hand because then when you counter something, you still have 6 in hand. You can draw up to card number 7. There's the pass. In his upkeep, going to draw card 8, card 9. 9 cards in hand. There's a Drop of Honey. There's a Volcanic, passing the turn. Yeah, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with control decks, you know. On the one hand, I always like it when I see the deck photo, but then when I see the deck in action, so I was like, oh yeah, now it's working and he's got full control, and then it's probably going to take him a long time. And here we see again Ben drawing a lot of extra cards. Yeah, and this is so tough for Will. You know, Will is already a game down. Maybe he's regretting his decision to pick up the card so early in that first game. Then again, I mean, he was in a bad position. Yeah, and Ben now has a full grip of cards, right? 9 cards. Here we see a jet. Gonna tap the jet. There's the Soul Ring, passing the turn. Soul Ring on the board. There's another dual scrub land, passing turn. Untap, upkeep, draw. And again, of course, drawing an extra card with the Loa, so 9 cards in hand. I mean, you know, Ben has to find a way. Now, I mean, he doesn't have to do anything. He's winning. He's already a game ahead. But it would be nice if he could find a way to let Will just draw more cards so he can start dealing some damage with the Vise. You know, and Hercule's Recall would be quite good here, actually. Maybe you want to have like some extra Moxen before you do that. Some extra Vices, I mean, before you do that. Anyway, he's going to tap 3. 1 black and 2. Oh, look at this. 4 Vices on the battlefield. 3 extra Vices on board. I have to say, I haven't seen that often. When a player has this many Vices. Also has a copy in hand. Could copy the black Vise. That would be kind of sweet. You know, copy the Vise. Just because then you have 5 Vices. And then play a draw 7 or Hercule's Recall. Come on, Ben. You can do it. I mean, it is nice to see a control deck like this kind of do its thing, you know. Let me know in the comments, like, how do you feel about these type of control decks? Look at this, 6 black Vices on the board for Ben. That's insane, man. Oh, there's Hercule's Recall. Oh, this is so cool. Don't counter it, please. Don't counter it. If you do, Ben, please counter the counterspell. I'm sorry, Will. I know you're a game behind, but I want to see this work. Okay, here we see the mana drain. Please protect this. There we see the mana drain on the mana drain. Oh, man. Does he have another counterspell? I hope not. He's going to do something. Uh-oh. What is he going to do? Oh, he's going to play Power Sync. That works. Oh, man. Oh, that is unfortunate. I was really hoping for Ben to close here. This also means that now his Loa is no longer active. You know, because he only has 1 card in hand. He really went for it, which I really appreciate, Ben. But it didn't work out, and now we probably have to wait longer for this game to end. Because, I honestly, Will, I don't see how you can, you know, win it. I mean, maybe you see a way out, I assume, because you keep playing. So I guess there's a gem they told me. I mean, of course you got to try as well. You're already a game behind. You don't want to pick up the cards. I get that. You're at a tournament, and you're still in the game. So that's 100% understandable. Here we see a Sylvan Library by Ben. And Will on end step now drawing a card. So the tables have turned a little bit. Now Will is drawing 2 cards a turn instead of Ben. I do think that Ben is probably going to use that Sylvan pretty aggressively to try to go back up to 7. Then again, he's on 13. Another extra card drawn here by Will. Yeah, and maybe this tome is going to help him. Okay, here we see a Demonic Tutor. Okay, things are getting interesting again. Yeah, Ben probably is going to worry a little bit here. Does have to double Maze still. I wonder what Ben's going to look up. Maybe, I mean, do you want to have like a Strip Mine against the Loa even though it's not active? Do you want to have a Strip Mine against the Maze? Do you want to get a Mind Twist? Do you want to just twist away the remaining cards in hand? Has a lot of options here. Do you just want to go for Ancestral Recall to draw some more cards? Like a lot of interesting options for Will here. It's going to tap 3, 4. Okay, what are we going to see for 4? Armageddon! Oh, Armageddon! Of course, it's in his deck as well. Oh, I love this. I have to admit, I was kind of falling asleep, but I'm liking the last couple of turns. Have been very explosive by both players. Armageddon, and it's resolving as well. Wow, this is huge. And now, I mean, Will doesn't even have enough mana anymore to use the Gem Tome because Flowerstone cannot be used. Now he does. Playing the Underground Sea. Liking this play by Will. I mean, I think if you're Will, you know that you need to get rid of the, of the mazes. And this was the most efficient way to do that. And then, of course, you now have enough mana to still use your tome. And now Will's in the tank. I mean, Will still has the Soul Ring, the Mox Jet, and can also activate the Flowerstone for mana because Will played out a land there. It's going to draw an extra card, going to go to 5 life. Wow, what an interesting game this has become, where I thought it was absolutely stuck. The tables have changed, but here's a Chaos Orb. I mean, you want to flip on the Gem Tome, right? It's going to activate the Chaos Orb. Exactly, you got to flip on that card. It's going to give Will way too much card advantage. This is an important moment in the game. The flip here by Ben on the Gem Tome. 1, 2, 3. It's a hit. Well done. Good job, Ben. And then we see a basic island. Oh, and 2 more Mox in there. Wow. And there's a balance. Oh, that means some one-sided Mind Twist. Very dirty here. And Will also losing his balance, by the way, in another land there. And the third card I couldn't identify. It's a blue card. Oh, surrendered from the top. This is really good. I mean, look at the life total of Ben. Ben is very low. What does he find? A fork and 2 lands? It's not going to help him. Is Will actually going to win this? That would be spectacular. That would be spectacular. I mean, if you're Ben, I mean, you can only pick 1 card. You're on 5. Oh, man. Yeah, just going to go for a land and pass. Ben taking the damage, drop to 15. But more importantly, Will, drop to 15. Ben's on 5. Ben going to 2. Measly life. Oh, I didn't see this coming. Yeah, there's nothing Ben can do. That's a win for Will. I mean, this is just, that Armageddon did so much. And of course, the counter battle, that moment when Ben went for it, which I really appreciated. But unfortunately for Ben, didn't pay off because Will had that double counter spell, So that was a key moment in the game here. So game number 2 won by Will. And I mean, I really did not see that coming, but I'm happy for it, because it means we're going to get a game number 3. Game number 3 here is about to begin. The big decider, who's going to win this? Ben, who's on the play now, or Will, who's on the draw? And it looked so good for Ben in that second game. I really thought he had it, but that was a spectacular ending of that game. That Armageddon was such a big play, a good play by Will. But anyway, let's see what's going to happen here. Ben taking turn 2, finding a Sylvan Library. Pretty good find there for turn 2 for Ben. Enchantment from Legends. Will's going to find a Scrubland here, playing out a Time Walk. Ben, of course, tapped out, so he can take on his extra turn straight away. There's a City of Brass. Has a Disenchant in hand. Is he going to play it out, or does he want to keep Counter Magic open? He's going to go for Disenchant here, taking care of the Sylvan. Passing the turn to Ben. And I think that's a good decision. Sylvan, at this stage in the game, is quite good. There's another city for Ben. I believe Ben has a mana drain there in hand. And I guess we're just going to see a lot of counter magic again. Look at that, Will also having a mana drain in hand, but passing the turn here, missing a land drop. There's a Black Lotus. Will wants to respond here. Okay, there we see Counterspell has to tap the City of Brass though, because Scrubland doesn't make a blue mana. So a little mistake by Will. Maybe the players will correct him. Maybe will correct himself. That's also possible. At first, we've got the counterspell on the stack. There we see a red Elemental Blast taking care of the counterspell. So I guess the Black Lotus is here to stay, at least for now. And Will again passing the turn. So not finding any lands here. Missed 2 land drops already. It's not great for him. There's City of Brass getting tapped here. Damage for Ben dropping to 18. There's an Ancestral Recall. Probably going to see that mana drain there. Exactly, Will tapping 2 blue, and now he is using the City of Brass. There's the mana drain on the Ancestral Recall. Or as Italians say, Ancestrale. And here we see the mana drain. Sacking the Black Lotus to play out the mana drain. Yep, the 3 cards are now going to happen here. So drawing 3 from the Ancestral Recall. And I guess he's now going into his second main where he can use the mana drain mana. So he's going to use 1 for the Vise. And he would still have 1 floating, right? From the mana drain he countered. Going to tap 2 more. What are we going to see? An Abyss. Okay. I think he still misses a mana then, right? Or am I mistaken? Anyway, there's the Abyss hitting the board. Enchant World, also from Legends. Very powerful card, but of course not too damaging for Will yet. Will doesn't have any creatures on board. Knows it's there now. Okay, there we see Disrupting Scepter. Interesting, a card coming in from the sideboard. 3 to cast, 3 untap, and a target opponent has to discard a card of their choice, and you can only use it in your own turn. And Ben finding another duel. He's going to tap the Emerald. Going to tap the City of Brass. So going to take a damage there. Going to drop to 17. Going to play Copy Artifact. Okay, he's going to copy the Disrupting Scepter. That is really interesting because at the end of the day, you know, Ben needs to win with Vise. So, I mean, Disrupting Scepter can, you know, not really help you with making sure that you can do any Vise damage. Anyway, Will here taking on his turn. I wonder if he's going to use the Scepter. Also has a Jam-Day Tome in hand. Could also consider playing out the Tome, but then he would have to tap out completely. At least Will found a land. That's something for him. Looks like he's going to play the Tome. He's going to tap 4. Exactly, there's a Jam-Day Tome hitting the board. 4 and tap, draw a card. Doesn't have enough mana, of course, to do that. Really light on lands. Passing the turn here back to Ben. Ben finding a basic island here. He's going to tap 2, it seems. 3. Okay, is he going to use the Scepter? Yeah, going to use the Scepter, forcing Will to discard a card. Will here discarding the Spirit Link. And Ben passing the turn here. I actually wonder if Will should have taken some damage from that Vise earlier. It's kind of hard to track. There we see a Strip Mine on the island, but I assume, of course, that both players keep that in check. So Strip Mine here on the basic island, which is an interesting move, right? It's kind of forcing Ben to keep using the City of Brasses when he wants to play a blue spell. There we see the Scepter. Here we see Hypnotic Spectre being discarded, a card that came in from the sideboard. There we see another Maze in the pass. And there on end step, Will is going to use the Jam-Day Tome. Going to take a damage from his city and draw a card. So he's on 16 now, drawing a card for turn as well, of course. And yeah, interesting to see what he's going to do next. And it looks like both players are once again in kind of this stalemate position. And it's important here to note that we are playing tournament Magic, meaning you only have 15 minutes to finish your round. So we could be in for another draw. We also saw a draw last week. And that's, of course, what you get when both players playing decks with a lot of answers. Here we see a Mind Twist for 2. I believe, because Ben only has 2 cards in hand. He's going to lose here. Look at that. He's going to lose Drop of Honey and Counterspell. So he doesn't even want to Counterspell here to protect a Drop of Honey because he doesn't want to take the 2 damage. That kind of makes sense because he already has the Abyss on the battlefield. Using his Scepter again on Will. Yeah, Will a little bit in the tank here. Okay, going to lose the Power Sink. Has a Brain Geyser still in hand. And is that a Flash counter? Could be a flash counter, not sure, but I think I see a Brain Geyser and flash counter. Okay, he's going to play the Brain Geyser for 2. There's a counter spell. Does mean 2 damage for Ben. Ben dropping to 15. 2 cards in hand for Will. And Ben stop decking. we could just be in for a draw here. I can really see that happen. Because we're in such a standstill, it seems. And also Ben's deck is so controlling and so not aggressive. So Will here drawing his second card. I mean, the thing here for Ben is he could, for Will, I mean, he could tap out to draw an extra card, but then all his mana are gone. There's nothing else he can do. Exactly, just passing the turn here. So 2 cards up. Does that mean he's got a counterspell or something? First we see Will using the Scepter, and now, Ben using the Scepter. Now Will, in response, is using his Tome. He's got up to 3 cards, now has to discard a card. He's going to discard Armageddon here, the card that basically won him the game in the second game here. But decides to discard it. And he's going to play Ancestral Recall here on himself. No counter magic by Ben. So 3 cards here for Will. He's found a land there, basic island. There's a Felwar Stone. Okay, so that's going to help him. You want to have enough mana to and use your Scepter and use your Tome. That's the ideal scenario for Will. And Will's going to use his Scepter here. Only 2 cards for Ben. Ben's going to discard the Underground Sea. And use the Scepter as well. I got to laugh a little. Both players kind of using the Scepters against each other. And it's so hard here to put pressure on each other's life totals. It is so incredibly grindy. Will here going through the graveyard. What does he have? I mean, if he's got a recall, he could go recall for Ancestral Recall, I guess, for some more cards, but does that really help that much? He is going to go for recall, and I guess he's going to play recall for 2, right? So he's going to discard Surrender, Profit there, and an island. What is he going to pick up? Ancestral Recall, and what else? I mean, you also know that Ben's probably going to use the Scepter again, right? Does he have a he does have a Disenchant. Could go for Disenchant, right? Try to disenchant that Disrupting Scepter on the side of Ben. He is going to go there for Disenchant. Could also consider disenchanting the Abyss. Okay, changing his mind though. Yeah, it's going to go for... I think I would have done the same here. And now you want to tap... Okay, he's going to wait for the activation before he taps and plays out the Ancestral Recall, I guess. Because now Ben's going to use the Scepter. I think I would have used the Ancestral Recall straight away. Not give Ben that turn. Okay, there was a little glitcher, but Ben played the Ancestral Recall. It resolved, and then he discarded the card because of the Disrupting Scepter, which was a land. And it's time already. Okay, so it's time here. And that means it's a draw. So again, we've got a draw here. This is pretty exceptional. It doesn't happen that often that we have draws here at the tournament, but it happened here. There was a draw, and it is what it is. And I guess when we look at the decks, it's not that surprising that it ends up, in a draw here, especially when we look, of course, at the deck of Ben. I mean, that deck has got control all over it, right? You want to grind your way, I guess, through a victory, and then, maybe, get to time. I wonder, Ben, can you let me know in the comments how many, matches were you able to kind of play within the 50 minutes? It's got to be kind of low, and maybe you just won most of your matches with 1-0, or just you had a lot of draws as well. It's when you look at the deck, it kind of, it's to be expected you're going to have a lot of draws. Next week, by the way, we will be back with another round from the Swiss part of this tournament, and that's round number 5. In round number 5, we're going to watch Rob playing Burbots, and he is playing an Armageddon deck, which is blue, white, green. Beautiful decks here going face-to-face against each other. Again, very powerful, and I don't think this will end up in a draw. I mean, these are 2 very powerful, aggressive decks as well, in their own way, I have to say. It's not your standard aggro, of course, but I do think that we are going to see some fireworks. But that's for next week. If you want to make sure you don't miss that episode, by the way, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. Thank you, and all these things really help the channel move forward. I mean, YouTube loves it when you subscribe and also ring that bell to get notified whenever I put a video online. Talking about that, you can also support Timmy Talks via Patreon. Check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks for all the information.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, put him in the longboat until he's sober, put him in the longboat until he's sober, put him in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. She rises early in the morning. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Early in the morning. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put him in the scout to the husband's son. Put him in the scout to the husband's son. Put him in the scout to the husband's son. Early in the morning, way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises, way hey up she rises early in the morning.
Icketus, ficketus, sumba, kazee.